Hello friends, this is Daniel. Today we're going to build something very interesting. We're going to build an NFT marketplace. And as you can see here, we are in the marketplace. The marketplace have the following sections. We have the balance of ETH or native token of each of our users in the marketplace. We have the on sale section that shows the current offerings available in the marketplace. We have the buy and sell section that actually shows the NFTs in which we can take actions, and we have the NFT collection of each of our users. So in this case, in this specific Ethereum address, I have only one NFT and I could take an action on it, which is offering it for sale at a given price. And when I offer it for sale, it will appear here in the on sale section. But this guy is a little bit poor in NFTs, so let's go to my other address. This address is a little bit more NFT rich. And we are going to offer one of these NFTs for sale. So let's sell the warrior. And we are going to define the price as this amount, and we are going to offer it for sale. We have to approve a transaction here in our MetaMask, and the warrior was offered for sale. When the offer is processed, we are going to see the warrior appear in the on sale section. And in that moment, then it will be possible for people to actually buy it. And as you can see here, it appeared here. Obviously, since I'm the one that is selling this NFT, I cannot perform any action on it. But if we go to the other address, this guy is not going to sell the wizard, but here we saw the warrior appearing in real time. And we can actually buy it. So let's buy it. I hope that my Matic token in this case is enough to perform this action, and it is. We're going to buy it. We are going to see when the offering is actually processed that the offer of on sale will disappear, and right now we have to wait until all the transactions are properly processed to see the NFT appear. So let's wait a little bit and we are going to check it out later. The NFT approval might take a while to appear, but I want to take advantage of this time to explain how the dapp works to you. For building this dapp, actually we need to have several components. We need to be able to track in real time what are the balances of NFTs of our customers, and allow those customers to sign in our app with MetaMask. We need to be able to track also in real time smart contract events, because we are relying into smart contracts in this dapp. We are relying in a contract that is the operator of the marketplace, and we are also relying in many other smart contracts according to where the NFTs were created, that are the ones that manage those NFTs. In the case of this dapp, all of those backend related issues were managed very easily because I'm using Moralis. And maybe you are not familiar with Moralis. And let me explain to you what Moralis is. So if you go to moralis.io, you are going to be able to create what we call a Moralis server. And you do that after you log in if you're a member, but if you're totally new, you sign up, it's totally for free. When you sign up to Moralis, you are going to be able to create a server. And in a server, there are different actions that you can take. For example, in this server that is hosting my NFT Marketplace, I have created some sync events for my smart contract that is the one that manages my marketplace. I have a listener to listen whenever a new offer is appearing in the marketplace, and I have that in a smart contract event. And I also have a listener for when an offering is closed. That means when a buying event happens, and that's another smart contract event. And these listeners are active all the time. So building this manually is actually quite painful, but if you build it with Moralis, you just need to provide the API of the contract, as you can see here, and you can just let it do the work by itself. Now, other thing that we need is to have a database, right? To be able to track what are our offerings and stuff like that. And our listeners are actually populating this dashboard. And in this dashboard, we can see what are the balances pending, what are the NFT owners pending, and that's regarding what the blockchain is processing actually in our dapp. And we are able to see the history or the database of the placed offerings in our contract according to our listener, and also the transfers and also the closed offerings. So since I can see here that there are no NFT owners payment events then or pending events, then I can actually confidently check that the NFT that I bought was already transferred to the account of the user. And you can see that the warrior appears here, and this guy actually could go and sell it once again. And that happened in real time because of those listeners that we have configured here in our Moralis server. So this is a little bit of an explanation on what are the capabilities of Moralis. Of course, this was quite fast, but we are going to go in detail into the code right now so you can understand how exactly I built this dapp. Also remember that that code is available in the GitHub repository in the description of the video. Let's take a deep dive on it. Let's take a deep dive in the code. So here I have my contract that I use as the operator of my NFT marketplace. I will explain to you what is going on here. So we have several events first that we have in this contract. We want to have an event that we will trigger whenever a new offering is placed in our contract. We have an event for whenever an offering is closed, and we have an event to when the balance is withdrawn or when we change the address of our operator. I will explain that one in a minute. The operator address is basically whoever is going to be able to place offerings in this contract. For our marketplace to work, the dapp has to be able to transfer NFTs on behalf of the user. And it would not be a very good UI where we have our user approve a transaction in MetaMask for approving the marketplace and then have the user create the actual offering in the contract, right? And you might be asking, why do we need to create an offering in the contract? Is because this offering will ensure that we have a price attached to the action of moving the token when we close the offering, which is another function here. The contract itself will receive an order from an authorized operator, which is our dapp, to create this offering that will have a price attached to it. This offering will be closed through this other function that can be called by anyone. Whenever someone is selling an NFT in our marketplace, what they are doing is step one, signing a MetaMask transaction to authorize our marketplace contract to move the NFT on their behalf. And the other action that is happening is that our dapp itself is creating an offering in the contract that operates the marketplace. Then whenever someone buys it, what we are doing is just creating another transaction, but that one is only one transaction in the marketplace contract, and through paying the amount of the price through this transaction, the NFT is transferred. We have other functions here that are to withdraw the balance or to change the address of the operator. We might want to do that if we change the operator in our dapp, and also that's something that would allow some flexibility, and we are able to view the offerings and view the balances of each of the participants in the marketplace. It's a very simple plain vanilla contract for managing the marketplace on our behalf. But this is only half of the way. We also need to create the dapp, right? So I think you guys will be more interested on that part. So let's go to see our dapp. For our dapp, we have the following. We have an index.html, which is a very simple template that we are creating just to serve as a framework. Then we have our logic.js, and here is where the fun begins. We are authenticating each of our users, and we do that through Moralis, as I explained to you in the beginning of the video, and it's a very easy process to do that. And then after the user is authenticated, we are populating its NFTs, populating the offerings that might exist, and populating balance of the user. We are also subscribing to certain functions that are called subscribe offerings, subscribe buys, and subscribes updated NFTs. We are going to talk about these three later on. We are going to focus first on how to populate the user's NFTs, right? So for this, we have here the display NFT functions. So what we are doing is basically getting the NFTs of the given user by this function that we have here, and then we are formatting those NFTs to appear nicely as we have them as a grid and display them in the dapp. And that's what we are doing here in the populate NFTs. Then we want to be able to also populate offerings, and that's the other functions that we have here that are related to offerings. And it's basically the same. We are querying the Moralis server that we have, and we are checking if there are offerings, and we are just getting all the offerings and displaying them in a nice way. Remember that in order to track those offerings, that's very intimately related with our smart contract for the marketplace, right? So what we are tracking is this offering placed event, and that is something that we are doing through Moralis server. So here we have the tracking in the sync, and here is the offerings placed. So through this event that we have here, we are able to get all the offerings here, and that's happening in real time as they happen, and that's the information that we are grabbing in order to be able to display the offerings in this area of our dapp when there is an offering there. Now we already talked about displaying the offerings and displaying the NFTs, right? Next, what we need to do is be able to select the NFTs. So that happens in this function that we have here. And this is just a very simple function to be able to select the NFTs according to a context that we are passing. And we are able to grab that and show it in our screen in this other area of our dapp. When we do that, we can perform certain actions, right? And one of those actions is offer the token for sale. And that's basically the only action. So what we have to check is whether the NFT is already offered, because if it's already offered, we don't have to be able to offer it again, right? So that's what this function does. And what we do to offer the NFT for sale is here in the sell NFT function. So what we are doing is calling two functions here. As I mentioned before, we first need to authorize our smart contract that is managing our marketplace to move NFTs on behalf of the user, and this is this approved marketplace function over here. But then we need to be able to create an offering in the marketplace to basically attach a price to that offering. And in that case, as you can see here, what we are calling is not a smart contract, but we are calling a Moralis cloud function. And this is very important. This is key. We need to do this in this way because this is our front end, right? This is JavaScript code that anyone can see. So as I mentioned before, the placing of the offering is something that our dapp is doing by itself. The dapp itself needs to have an Ethereum private key to sign this transaction. And we don't want to have that private key here, right? But Moralis offers us a very interesting way to run a cloud function inside our server that run this process behind the curtain, and no one can see how we're signing this transaction. So this is the way that you do this in Moralis to make it very secure. But remember that in the cloud code, and I'm showing you here what you have to copy paste in your cloud code in Moralis, you will add the private key that corresponds to the specific Ethereum address that you're using. I'm not showing you mine because for obvious reasons, I will not show you a private key in a public video, but suffice it to say that what we are doing is sign a transaction with this private key, and we are returning that signed transaction from the Moralis behind the curtain process. This one is returning us the signed transaction properly managed in a secure way by the Moralis cloud, and then we can just send that in the front end through the send signed transaction method of Web3. Very simple. So those are the two actions that happen when you sell or offer for sale the NFT. Now, there are other things that need to happen, right? And I will create some sample for you to see. Let's say that we offer for sale the warrior again. So right now, going for sale. We are going to see the offer appear very soon. Here we have it. So as you can see, when we select the offering here, we're going to see the NFT here. And if we are not the owner, we are going to be able to actually buy it. But how do we perform this action? And this is this other side of the code, is the display and select offering. So we have a function here that's called select offering, and this is what is triggering when we select that button there. Passes with a context and we just display it. Now, when we have that, we have to confirm that who is the owner to see if we're going to show the buy button or not, and that's something that's happening there in that function. And then we are able to actually perform the other set of functions here, which is the buy functions. And for the buy NFT functions, we just need to call this function close offering with a specific ID and price encoded, but this is picked by the context of the button that we are grabbing from our UI. And then that option is triggered when we press the buy button. So that's it. So we have explained almost all the code, right? But you have seen that this UI is updating by itself without me having to refresh anything. I have not touched the refresh button at all. And this is something that also Moralis makes very easy. If you didn't have Moralis, you will have to have some WebSocket functions on your server to actually be notified when some events happen. But since you have Moralis, you can do it as easily as this. You can get some functions here that I'm calling subscribe offerings, subscribe buys, unsubscribe NFTs. And basically what I'm querying is whenever there is a new offering, and this is when there is a new entry in this place offerings database. So whenever that happens, I will refresh my offerings, and that will happen by cleaning my current offerings and populate offerings again. This could be made in a more efficient way, but this is the simplest way to do it. For buys, then whenever there is a new object in the closed offerings, as we did before, we are going to clean the offerings. So the offering that was there before is going to disappear, and we're going to populate them and update them. And we are going to also update the balance so we can see those updates in real time. And then when we subscribe to these NFTs update, we are going to check these Polygon NFT owners, which is something that Moralis is giving you by default to track the confirmations in the blockchain of NFT transfers. And whenever there is a confirmation, then basically it just notifies you, and that's the moment that the NFT actually will appear here, because these collections are going to be refreshed. So all of that is happening in real time, and you don't need to deal with WebSockets or anything like that. And you have seen there how I use those functions to do that. So I hope that with this video you have understood the basics on how to build NFT marketplaces, or how NFT marketplaces might work behind the scenes, because there are different ways of doing this stuff. But here you do it in a very close to the bone way of doing it, so you have a very good knowledge on how that works under the hood. I really encourage you to subscribe to the Moralis channel and to subscribe for a Moralis account. This is Daniel. Subscribe to our channel and get much more knowledge and surprises. Thank you very much, everyone. See you in our next video.